everyone. My name is Deneen White, and I am the host of the Coffee in the Green Room podcast. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing the one, the only, Steve J Larsen. Steve, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I have your whole bio, and we'll post that when we post the link, okay? But I've been following your journey for so long, and you have been watching your transformation has been amazing. And I love how transparent you are with your journey, because here on Coffee in the Green Room, we share the stories that you may not tell from stage, but the conversations that you have behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about your journey with my audience just to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually been building funnels now for 10 years. I can't believe that. That blows my mind on how, where'd the time go? But I look backwards on where I was when I first started compared to now. And I feel like I have to apologize for everybody because I was really hypey and I yelled a lot. And like I was like I was damaged. I just didn't know that. So over the last like 6 years, people have seen a really big shift in me, and it's been fun to kind of resurface and talk more about what's been going on, because it's been just been kind of a crazy journey. So along those lines, all this stuff has come out with dramatic demonstrations and all that. But it's been nuts.
Yeah, I remember you when you first got started. You'd be like, I was like, oh, this guy has the energy.
What's up? I just scream. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is, you did scream a lot. I'm not gonna lie. But the thing I loved about you is that when I heard that, I heard the energy behind it, because you have such a passion for entrepreneurship. You have such a passion for the people that you're working with that it's infectious. And I remember a couple of years ago, Mike and I had the opportunity to come to one of your events right before Funnel Hacking Live. And I still go back and check my notes from that event, because it was so amazing. Just because, and the thing I love about your story is, like, you literally started out with nothing. Like, you literally used to ride your bike to get the opportunity to work with Russell Brunson at ClickFunnels. And so many times, and I'm sure you see this more than I do, with entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs, like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna wake up one day and it's gonna be amazing. And I love your transformation because of that.
Yeah, people are like, I'm gonna arrive one day, and it's like, I don't know. I had to get really real with myself. It was in college when I was really poor, and I just suddenly had this big, I don't really know where it came from. I had this realization that nobody was coming to save me. I don't know. And for some reason, it took me a long time to recognize that. It was almost like I was waiting for someone to come knock on the door and be like, "You've been looking for a business opportunity? You want me to take you by the hand and just do all these things with you?" And like, that's never going to happen. And so I was like, I got to literally build the door that I'm hoping would be there. And yeah, that mentality is fun to watch. It's hard to teach though, and it's hard. I really haven't found a way to teach it, but you can see it when someone has it, and they're like, okay, this person's after it. They're going and getting it.
Yeah. So it's so true. And so can you talk a little bit about how the struggle has built you into the entrepreneur that you are? Because you're in the midst of building an empire right now, and you have so many cool things going on.
Yeah. Okay, so at the beginning of this journey, like I was like, I remember looking myself in the mirror again, broke college student. I was like, I'm gonna be the best funnel builder in the world. And it was total dead serious. And I was like, I'm gonna get after it and just go for the trend. I have no idea. Probably not. But the pursuit of that was really interesting. And I remember about 3 or 4 years after I left my job, it's kind of like my vision ran out. And I didn't really know what the next thing was. I didn't know where the road was leading me. And it was definitely one of those like go find your moment or find yourself kind of moments. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, where'd you go for like 2 years? I'm like, well, it's really that, I was like, I was going through all kinds of different stuff. I was getting lots of coaches and working with shamans, and I was doing all kinds of stuff. And it's been fun because in the last, I'd say like 18 months, just freakish clarity, just really, really strong vision on who I'm working with the next 10 years. Like, I got it. And now I just put the gears in. But I think that's the hardest part. It's funny. I'm at the spot now, though. In fact, I was talking with Russell about this a couple months ago, that anytime you go through one of those internal transformations, it's like you have to relearn basics. And so
Yeah.
I'm like relearning the things that I taught. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I should get some leverage here. Like, oh yeah, I should probably like, stop trying to do everything on my own. And it is funny. I wish that there was a little bit more empathy in our space for the personal growth that is required in the game. And I call it the parallel journey. It's like you're going down the path, but I had a coach that told me this. He said the map never shows the terrain.
Oh, that's
I
true.
was like, ooh, that's a good line,
Yeah.
But so you're going down the map, but the terrain could be going up and down and sideways, and all this stuff that's happening, and that this parallel journey is the one you're personally going on. And for me, that journey was called learn how to be confident when you speak. Your throat doesn't hurt. Learn how to have, it was, so but just that parallel journey, I feel like it should be more of a conversation,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I
you know.
definitely agree with that because the person that you are today has to shift with each iteration of who you are. The human being has to shift. And I don't
Yeah.
think that we talk about that very much in the entrepreneur space because you like, I was like, okay, let's do this. We're on to this. We're on to that. We're on to this. We're on to that. But how do you grow yourself with each iteration of what you want to do? And I think
Yeah.
that's definitely a conversation that needs to be had more because we all go through it. Every one of us goes through it. And
Yeah.
I work with a lot of actors and models, musicians, and what I tell them is the person that you are today is completely different than the person you are yesterday, and your only competition is with you yesterday.
Yeah.
And that
You
speaks to
against
a lot
you
of
and you against
character.
yesterday. That's really it.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about what you're working on now. What are some things that really have you excited? Because I don't want to talk about old Steve Larsen. I want to talk about new Steve Larsen. So what gets you up in the morning? What are you so excited about?
Yeah, I'm having so much fun with what I'm doing right now. So about at the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing a lot of research on rich dead guys. And I was just like, this is really interesting how these business owners and marketers got rich without the internet. And it's funny because now it's almost like we couldn't even conceive how you could make that happen without the internet. But I mean, there's no internet back then. And so how did they do it?
Yeah.
And I remember I was dropping something off at Russell's house and I was handing him this box of something. And I was like, hey man, I'm studying a lot of like rich dead guy stuff. And so we went on like a 2 hour conversation, which is what we usually do, just like brain dumping to each other. And I showed him the pattern. I was like, if you notice, this is how these rich dead guys would go launch stuff without the internet. And I'm finding it all over the place when I start to dig deep. And about 6 months later, he reached out and he goes, do you want to co-author a book on that? And I was like, totally. And so we were going to call it something around the word like campaign, but people, because of Facebook ads, people think they know what that is. And so we got to come up with a new word. So Russell named it dramatic demonstrations. And we're putting together, we've spoken a few times, FitJL about this. And we just did a big 3-day workshop together. And now it's literally with the editor. We're the books, should be done, a workable draft in the next month.
Oh, wow.
Um, and yeah, we're cranking over here on it. And what I'm really proud of though with this research is that um, there's a formula in here called the offer hook. And uh, this is kind of how I tell it. So it's like I was a door-to-door sales guy, for a while. And
Yeah.
when I was a door-to-door sales guy, there was really two parts to our script. And it's funny because I was a door-to-door sales guy for 3 different companies, or 2 companies, and I was also a telemarketer. But every single one of my sales trainers had the same formula, and I thought it was coincidence at first. I didn't realize it's just sales. So there's always 2 parts to the script. And part number one, the only focus of that was to get the person on the doors to engage with us and ask a question. If they didn't do this one little key piece, we were never allowed to go to part two.
Oh,
And
wow.
this is such a strong thing that when I'd be talking, we'd be knocking all day and go back to our little meetings, and my sales trainer would ask, like, did you get to part two? Did you get to part two? You didn't get the sale, but did you get to part two? And like every sales job I had before I was ever on the internet was like that. Did you get to part two? And what that part two was where we were allowed to talk about the offer. So we
Okay.
were never allowed to talk about the offer, never allowed to talk about the product, never allowed to give terms or talk about money until we got to part two. And the only key question we were trying to get them to get to ask was, how much is it?
Oh, wow.
And so the offer hook formula that's in this dramatic demonstration book kind of, it kind of calls out that I think the problem with marketers today is that the way marketing copy is written, it assumes that someone has already said, tell me more.
Yeah.
And so you skip part one and you skip all of this engagement stuff and you skip. And so that's what I think the problem is that we're using things like the perfect webinar script, which is
Mhm.
meant to be a sales script. It's not a marketing script. It's a
Yeah.
sales script. And we're using a sales script in a marketing function. No wonder we push everybody away. It's like knocking on the door and just holding an order form out,
Yeah. Or like going
Yeah.
up to someone like, hey, you want to marry me? I don't even know who you are. Like,
Yeah. I was
like,
like, what? It's
like
like,
pump the brakes for 2 seconds here.
yeah, yeah. So a heavy focus of the book is about the difference between marketing and sales and how there's no marketing in a sales funnel, which is why we don't call it a marketing funnel. It's a sales funnel. There's no marketing in them. And so the book really closes the gap on what to be doing pre-page one of the funnels to get traffic.
Ooh, I'm excited
It's
to read
really,
more about this.
yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, did you ever think you would be co-authoring a book with Russell Brunson?
Yeah, because I worked a lot on the first three with him.
Oh, that's true.
Um, and I always told him that I was like, one day I'm doing this with you. Because I was doing a lot of concept editing and I was like, I want to do it. Let's do it. One day we're doing it. When I'm good enough. Don't give it to me if I'm not good enough. Make sure I'm good enough. And so then one day he was like, let's do it. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. What does
Yeah.
that feel like to now? There has to be a shift when this kind of goes along with the parallel journey. Okay. There has to be a shift in your mindset where you believe that you're good enough because I believe that you were good enough all along. But like, what was that mindset shift like for you when Russell called you and said, hey, you want to co-author a book?
Yeah. I freaked out. I mean, I was so excited. I totally freaked out. It's funny. I had this weird thing when I started working for him that, and I never planned on working at ClickFunnels. I was a hardcore funnel builder before ever working there.
Yeah.
And, but when I went there, I said, I did this on day one and I did it almost every day for 2 years. And I would walk in, my desk was across from his in the same room. Like, what's up, man? Excited for today? What do you got for me today? Give me your hardest task. And he was, always go, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, the thing that you don't want to do today, give it to me. He goes, nobody asked you for that. And I said, I know. But the thing that you don't want to do, the suckiest task, I want it. Give it to me. And I said that to him every day. And he would give me all these crap tasks. And he would give me all of these. He's like, why do you want this? And I was like, pressure makes diamonds, baby. And I am absolutely glistening. That's what he said.
That's awesome.
And I was like, give me the hardest stuff, just I want this so bad. And so that was my mentality for really like the first like 6 years in this space. And then it got a little bit masochistic-y where I was like, that's part of what I had to go like fix. Like, okay, it doesn't always have to be hard to be worth it, and
Yeah.
that is very much the belief I had to break there. But no, I definitely, I still struggle with that with a little bit where I'm like, he's my first real long-term mentor. Like,
Yeah.
am I, tall enough to ride this ride? Is really where I had to go through with it. So
And
I
heck, if
still
you're
work on that.
well, I feel like we all work on that too. Like if you are someone who truly cares about what you're doing and the people that you're serving, I think we all go through that. Like, okay, am I really good enough to be serving these people? And
Yeah.
that's something like I know for me, if I get on a podcast and I'm not a little bit nervous, I'm like, okay, I need to cash in my chips and find something else to do because like I really care about what I do. And I know you do too, because I've seen the transformation, I've seen the growth in you, and it's absolutely amazing to see. So let me just ask you a question. What
Yeah.
is
Bring
it
it up.
like having Russell Brunson as like a close mentor?
Um, yeah, he's one of my best friends, we talk pretty much every week, I'd say an average. I mean, I think one of the reasons why that's even been able to have happened is that um you have to kill the comparison bug,
Yeah.
because if I told him, it was also one of the first things I said to him when he hired me. I said, give me your toughest task. And I'm always going to ask that every day. Okay, it's weird, but I appreciate that. I was like, it's my job because I told him my job is to take care of all the crap around you so that you can just do what you're naturally gifted at. I'm protecting your time for you to be in the vacuum that you do your jam. And that's my job. And he was like, huh. And so to just take care of just the garbage stuff, the stuff that no one wants to get done, the last 20% of the projects, all that stuff. Um, and he's told me for a long time, I'm like the first person entrepreneur that's ever worked for him that hasn't screwed him over. Um, and so I just had to always hold a mentality where I'm not going to compare my chapter 1 to his chapter 40,
Yeah.
and that he's on a different path, and we don't even do the same things. Which is why I ended up being fractional CMO for a while, a couple years ago, back at ClickFunnels. Because he and I do very different things. So we had to like grow up, or I had to grow up in a different. That was the thing, is for a while I was like, what do I do that's different? And I remember when I left my job, part of like the mental junk that I was going through was, how am I different?
Mhm.
I was like, I don't want to leave funnel space, but I don't want to compete. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So a lot of what's in the dramatic demonstration book is a result of me trying to pursue the question, how can I be unique
Yeah.
without, how can I be complementary and not competitive?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
So that's really the market positioning. Because I have a marketing degree and everyone was like, you got to have a red ocean or a blue ocean. Right? It's like red, or like always go build the blue. I mean, even college, but if there's competition there, it means it's bad. Go build a blue. And in this book, I make the argument that that's dead wrong. I hate red ocean, blue ocean.
Oh,
Instead, dramatic demonstrations can be done, and a lot of it comes from this, where you stay in the red but become blue in it, where it's red
oh,
ocean, blue offer. And red ocean, blue offer is easier positioning in recessions as well. And so, but where I first started learning that was when I left ClickFunnels, and I was like, I'm not going to compete. First of all, that'd be brand suicide. He's my friend. And I mean, spending like $1 million a month on ads, like I can't compete with that. It's nuts.
yeah.
So that's where a lot of this came from. I feel like I'm totally ranting right now. Is this
No,
helpful?
you're not ranting at all. I love what you're saying because the thing I'm hearing is your humility. Like anyone who's gonna walk in and say, "Hey," most people will be like, "Hey, Russell, teach me everything you know." But you were like, "No, you know what? I want to do the thing so I can protect your space, so that you can operate in your area of brilliance and I can operate in mine." And I'm sure you grew to know what your area of brilliance was even more going through that. But I love. Okay, so this is a very unpopular position as well, but I hate red ocean, blue ocean. Go find your blue ocean.
I
Like
hate it.
why make it harder? Like if you are excellent in something that seems like a saturated market, something I learned, I forget which, I know it was, I forget whether it was expert secrets or .com secrets, but something I learned too is like you have to create your avatar that only you can speak to, because we all have a voice and there's someone, even if you and I did the same exact thing, there are people that will be naturally attracted to you that will hate me and vice versa. So why not, like, so I love the how I didn't, I should have written it down, but I love like being a blue dot in a red ocean. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that so much.
It's a lot easier. You think
Yeah.
about it. It's like my calling is to help innovators innovate and give them, that's really like been the awakening, I guess you could say, that I've had in the last 2 years. I'm like, okay, it's all about the innovators. Well, what I've noticed is if the innovator has this, let's say I've made this water bottle, it's like I'm going to go out just because I made a new thing. I have to now go build a mall just to sell it. Like
Yeah.
what? Like, why don't I go to the existing malls where there's already traffic, there's already influencers? It's actually easier. It's a shorter distance. Building a blue ocean is like the $1 billion play. Staying in a big bloody red ocean is like the $100 million play. Shucks. It's like you still can, but it's the exact opposite of what college taught me. Like,
Yeah. I
got
think
a niche, 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 niche. Like,
I think it's the opposite of what a lot of us have learned going down the path. So that's
yeah, you niche on the avatar, but not on the market.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, Steve, one question I love to ask people before I end the podcast is this: what is
yeah.
something that you are the most proud of? Like when people talk about the legacy that you've left, what is the legacy that you want to leave to the world?
Great question. Um, there's a lot there.
I didn't say it was the easiest question of the podcast.
Yeah, I'd say that it's top of mind just because that's to do with dramatic demonstrations. I would say that I believe that this offer hook formula is going to be as impactful to marketing as the perfect webinar script has been to sales. It has been curing lead flow. And I know that's the thing most companies are struggling with right now because Zucker Sucker is taking everything right now. So I'm really psyched about that. I've been working on it for 5 years and I'm watching what happens. Now I'm excited to finally put it in the book and make it popular and big. Um, but I also think though that legacy wise though, I would say that I'm really stoked to be known as um, just an innovator and helping innovators innovate. It's my belief that if I can influence innovators to keep innovating, we win. The moment that all the creatives out there stop making things, socialism literally takes over.
Yeah.
And the tools and confidence to create. I mean, it's a vulnerable pursuit to go do that. It feels vulnerable, feels scary. Um, and I think that the bar of what we require an innovator to go at, we're really the only business space on the planet that tries to have the same person be, all right, you got to be the innovator and make the product. Plus, you got to be the marketer and the ads person. Now you're going to go do fulfillment stuff. Now you should learn some tech. Like the amount of roles that we stack up because of the internet, no other business space on the planet does that. But for some reason, us in the internet marketing space, we just pile every role on us. It's like this badge of honor, and it's ridiculous. So I would say that I want to be known as the guy that gave innovators tools to innovate with leverage.
Ooh, I like that.
You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, where can people find you? Because I know that people who listen to this podcast are going to want to follow you on social media. Where can they find you?
Honestly, with everything going on, I would just go to stevejlarsen.com. That's kind of the catch-all.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah, I've been rebuilding everything. So
very nice. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate this. I remember the first time I met you, I was like, one day I'm going to interview him on the podcast. The day is today. I'm so excited. So thank you so much for being here today.
No, it's my pleasure. It's been great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. So if you enjoyed this episode of Coffee in the Green Room, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you go to stevejlarsen.com and make sure that you catch my next episode. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next episode.